everybody, whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world. This is Coast to Coast. We got three of us today. How's it going, guys?
I'm doing good. How about yourselves?
I can't complain. It's beautiful out here today. No complaints. It would have been nice if I could have got that win over the Clippers, maybe secure up that number 2. But anyway, it's good. It's Doncic had a great day. So I guess the Lakers are feeling good right now.
Are the Lakers feeling good right now?
I mean, they got a win over.
Well, they kind of needed to get I think 1 or 2 more wins to make sure they didn't slide down into that play-in because the margin is so close.
So after that win last night, the worst they can be is 6.
Right. So, but had they lost that one, though, that would have really.
Well, so there would have been an opportunity to get to the play-in, but I mean, even still, looking at where they're at, if they would have lost last night, like worst case, might have got to the play-in. Winning last night, the worst they can be now is 6th. The best they can be is 3rd.
Which I don't know if it really even matters unless you're just looking at matchups. If you're looking at matchups, then maybe that positioning matters. But
I mean, I don't know. Like it always comes down to matchups, right?
Oh, right. Absolutely.
So, what's happening, Daniel? My mom checking in.
Nice.
So. But yeah, I mean, it's always matchups. Obviously they're going to be happy because they've guaranteed themselves a playoff spot now. And it was against his old team. So naturally you want to win that game, right? Luka comes in with off of getting kicked out of the last game to come in and, they handle their business against his old team. You knew they were going to be happy about that.
Yeah, and I thought it was really classy when he thanked the fans and said how much he enjoyed being there, even though it was not his choice to leave. He could have came in there and bitter or whatever, but he was very classy. I thought the way he handled the reunion coming back.
I mean, it is easier to be classy when you win.
Well, that's true. It is. It is.
Like if you would have won,
but he was actually crying. Like he was actually emotional for him. It wasn't like anger emotional. I think it was just, I think he missed the city.
Well, it shows. I mean, there's a number of stories as I'm looking at like what news is happening in the world today in terms of sports news, and it's like, hey, Luka was very emotional in his return to Dallas, which I mean, I guess makes sense. You know what I mean? It's like he did start there. They did draft him there, I think, in the 2nd round, right? It's he's been there all this time, and now it's like, okay, I mean, of course you're going to get a little bit of emotional, I would assume, right? Isn't that part of what would happen? I remember, when you had, when it was, oh my Lord. Ah, my God, I'm brain farting here 100%. Philadelphia Eagle. Safety, Brian Dawkins. Oh my Lord, straight brain fart when he showed back up. Yeah, it was a bad brain fart there. Like when he showed back up with Denver,
right?
He couldn't even come out and take warm-ups that day.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Just like so, and then when they announced him, which they don't ever really announce the opposing team. But they announced the opposing team's defense that day so that they could announce Brian Dawkins and he could come out of the tunnel as Brian Dawkins for another team. You know what I mean? Which is, not something that you would normally have happen, but I can, he said that was a really emotional time. You know what I mean?
But what a way to honor him, though. The city of Philadelphia, class act.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, I mean, and it's ultimately he was one of the most loved players here of all time. You know what I mean? So you almost gotta do certain things that you're not used to doing in that regard. I got to imagine, like I said, when they show the highlights up there, it's like in between the 1st and 2nd quarter, and you're trying to honor, a player who was on your team for a long time.
Right.
I mean, there's there's lots of ways to really be able to do that. So I don't know. I find it him getting emotional isn't a surprise. Him scoring 45 points also isn't a surprise because
Exactly.
ultimately it's you're playing off the emotion, and once that emotion gets quelled a little bit, you start to bottle it up to actually have it as part of your performance.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you're also playing a team that is not as good as yours. Kyrie is gone. AD's by himself. Like, I would hope that you beat the brakes off him a little bit. And
Well,
good morning, everybody. Thanks for jumping in the chat.
So, but so I mean, I kind of think like, all right, it's over and done now. You did your thing. You were there. You got it. It's time to move on now. You're a Laker. Okay. So, yeah.
No, it was kind of funny though, because AD comes out and did all his special handshakes with his former teammates. Let me dab you up. I understand I'm gonna get killed today.
You might say, "Hey, take it easy on me, man. I'm over here hurting."
Yep.
Hey, listen. I mean, at least he was healthy.
That's what I was thinking, right? But they're not going to make the playoffs. They're done. He only has to tough it out for 4 more games.
Yeah, currently it looks like they're there are a few games into the 10th spot, so they'll make the play-in, but they're not going to get out of the play-in. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, I don't include the play-in in the playoffs. Like
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I get that. Yeah. It's interesting that Golden State is a half a game in the play-in, even though I don't expect it to stay that way. I think at some point they get back in there somewhere in this 6th spot.
They're just a really inconsistent team.
Yeah.
So like when they're firing on all cylinders, they look good, and when they're a little bit off, they're way off.
Right.
This is a team, and I look at them as a team that they are the holders of the switch. Mm-hmm. They have the switch. They turn the switch on, and they are going to be on.
Yeah.
But until they turn that switch on, they're not on. And when they're not on, they look ridiculous.
Yeah, they look like one of the worst teams in the league.
Right.
And
they don't care.
But when they dial it up, you're just like, oh, yeah. Like, especially when the threes are dropping, you're just like, oh, okay, yeah, like they're going to beat up everybody.
Well, I suspect that they're going to probably make it into the 6th seed. So they don't have to play in this play-in game. You know what I mean? Or they may make it to the 7th seed. Going up against Houston actually would probably really benefit them. I don't think Houston's a good enough team to really be able to handle them, although I'm sure that both Jay and Joe are going to feel differently about that. But I think that Houston is what OKC was last year. I think that they are going to maybe get knocked out of the playoffs and have a very strong learning experience in this playoff run, but not necessarily do very well. And that's why I think being the 7th seed may really benefit Golden State in that regard, because being that 7th seed, because they don't reseed. So now you're playing the 4-5 afterwards.
Yeah.
Which is the Lakers, and I don't know. I think that they could beat the Lakers. So.
There it is.
I think I do understand where Pags is coming from, because let's be honest, we don't have the playoff experience. We're still in some aspects a very young team in terms of experience. Exactly. So I do think that even though we have a lot of talent on that team, we still got to learn how to play in the playoffs and go, because we've never been there. This team has never been there. I mean, I don't know if Van Fleet ever made it there with Toronto. Maybe he did. I don't know, but I don't think Dylan Brooks did.
No, I think you have a couple of players that have been in the playoffs, but as a team, they haven't. So
right.
I mean, there's a lot of learning curve.
It's going to be a learning experience,
exactly.
And I wouldn't suggest that that's going to happen really well. However, now put Golden State in the 6th spot. See, this is where I feel like Houston really should pay attention and not necessarily throw games to try to not get paired up with Golden State, but I think getting Golden State in the first round is a big oucher for them. You know what I mean? And if you're going to, like, again, I don't know who's in that 6th spot in comparison. Like, so is it Phoenix?
Mm-hmm.
Is Phoenix even in the mix? I don't even know.
Phoenix, no, is right now eliminated. Dallas is the last play-in. They're still in the play-in.
So who's in the 6th spot?
Memphis by half a game over Golden State.
Now Houston against Memphis, I think that's a better matchup for them.
Yeah.
So it's almost worth it for Houston to be in the number 3 spot. But I got to imagine Houston and Memphis, or Memphis and Golden State, are close to each other in terms of a game away or whatever. I'm talking rather than looking up some of these stats. My expectation is that Houston is going to be better suited playing Memphis than they would be better suited playing Golden State. And I think that the problem is that Golden State is, they don't do it like everybody else where this load management. They just take games off on the court.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I look at it differently. I look a more unconventional approach to it. I actually want to play the hard teams. I want to play the tough matchups because we all talked about experience. You can't get the experience if you don't play the tough teams. If I go in there and play all the bullshit teams and then finally meet a tough team, I don't like that. Give me the tough team. And if we beat them, that's a great learning tool. If we lose, then we know what the benchmark looks like and where we need to strive to get to.
I hear what you're saying there, but the difference is that I want to be able to have the experience and win, not have the experience and lose. A 7-game series against any team is going to be tough when you don't have that experience in general. Memphis has played in a 7-game series before, even though they don't win those very often. You know what I mean? But they have been in these playoff scenarios. Golden State has got a pedigree of championships. I don't know that I want to go up against a championship caliber team or a team that at least knows how to get to a championship in my first round. I want my guys to learn. I want them to get a feel for the playoffs. And then if they play Golden State in the second round, then at least there they've got that that bit of experience where they felt what it took to win a series, and now they're going up a team that's got a championship pedigree. Whether they are good enough to be a championship team or not is beyond the point. But teams that know how to win. That's what happens. They figure things out and they make things occur. That's what makes me think that Golden State is a very scary team in this playoffs. This playoff specific, because you got somebody else who also has made it to the championship a couple of times, but hasn't had the win yet, hasn't felt the ring on his finger yet. And I'm talking about Jimmy Buckets. I think Jimmy Buckets is going to have an amazing playoffs. And I think that he is just biding his time, holding things back right now until we get to that point. Because it doesn't matter if it does matter if you're the 8th seed. Because I think going up against OKC is going to be a tough battle for anybody. But I think that you want them beaten up after a couple of playoff series before you go up against them. And if it is Golden State versus OKC in the Western Conference Finals, I think that OKC probably loses that. I would actually put money that Golden State would win that series.
I do like the fact, and I want to point this out. And again, before I say this, I understand there's a difference between playoff basketball and regular season basketball. I want to put that disclaimer out there right up off the rip. But I did like the way that we played Golden State about 2 nights ago when we beat them by 10. And they had a full accoutrement of people, and we held Steph to 3 points. I just want to put that out there. I know that playoff basketball is different, but I do like the fact that this team knows that they can beat them. Yeah, they know. They have they have at least have the positive feeling of knowing that they can beat them. Now, again, there's a difference.
One-off game versus a series.
I don't know. I didn't go back and look, but I think we beat them more than just a one-off game. First of all, and we also beat OKC with the full accoutrement of people. And I think the difference is what I do like about our team is even though we lack experience in the playoffs, we have a really good coach that knows how to win the playoffs.
Well, now, and that's
So,
that's what Joe just talked about as well, and that's going to help.
yeah.
But
Oh, it definitely
I
helps.
think that things happen with time. You know what I mean? And this is
Yeah.
Houston's first real opportunity to be listed as a top 4 team in the West. You know what I mean? So that's that accounts for some of this. You know what
It
I
does.
mean? And that's going to be some of the thought process here. I like I said, I don't know that I would not want to face a Golden State team in the first round.
Sure. Yeah.
If I'm Houston, I think
Wow.
that's really all I'm saying here in this
Oh no,
regard.
if I could play Memphis in the first round, oh no, I definitely would rather have that. I'm just saying, God forbid, if we did have to go against Golden State, at least I look at it as, well, okay, if we got to play him, we got to play him. And if nothing else, well, at least know what hard basketball in the playoffs looks like, so we know what the benchmark and what the standard is. Do I want to play them like you said, Pags? No, I don't want to play them. If I could play Memphis, I'd much rather have Memphis because Ja Morant will probably do
Who's
something
in
stupid
the
and get
8th spot?
ejected.
Who is in the 8th spot right now?
I think it is. Hold on. It is. Dang, where did I have this other pulled up? I just had it up. Come on, Jay. Okay. The A spot is Sacramento. No, excuse me, Minnesota. Minnesota. It goes Golden State in the 7, Minnesota in the 8, and you got Sacramento 9, and Dallas is rounding it out at 10.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, I mean, it's potential. Yeah, it's potential that Minnesota could beat Golden State, but I don't think so. That's not going to be. That's not going to be a real thing right there. Denver going up against the Clippers. Is Denver falling off right now?
I think they just came off a win. Back, it was kind of funny because Joker was actually drawing up plays on the sideline. I guess he took the place of Mike Malone.
Well, I mean, that makes sense, right? Like, if you fire everyone in the building, you're going to leave it up to your players to do stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was interesting, though, that David Adelman is
I'm with you, Rob. I hope they never win anything ever. Even after we get the Sonics back, I think OKC should just die in purgatory.
That was so wrong, man. That was so wrong. By the way, if you live in OKC, go to Bo's page, give us a subscribe. Just make sure you're logged in first.
But also, kick rocks. Yeah. Yep.
So really, actually, Memphis has got a half a game up on them with the game in hand on that. And then also Minnesota has got a game in hand on Golden State, and they're half a game below. So it doesn't look like there's no chance that the Kings or the Mavericks are going to be able to make it. And actually, it says the Suns are already eliminated. So it's like, so we already know the teams that are going to be able to be in all of this mix. That being said,
I like that Dustin's catching strays. He's not even here today.
Dustin, because the stats are always off there. Hey, Frankie, I love you, Frankie. Hey, real quick though, just so you know, the Minnesota plays the Mavericks for the last game before the playoffs, and Golden State plays Portland. So I think Memphis should be able to hold on to that spot and take out Dallas. They should be able to.
Right. Well, there's 3 games left. So ultimately, you're looking at.
Oh, that was the school schedule. My bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's 2 games left for the Warriors. There's 3 games left for the Grizzlies. 3 games left for the Timberwolves. And you guys are locked in. Houston is locked in the number 2 seed.
Right.
That even if the Lakers were to win out, they're 3. They only have 2 games, so so the Rockets are number 2. Lakers could be number 3. They could be down further than that, but the Rockets are the number 2 seed, which means that they are going to be forced to play the number 7 seed, which could be either the Grizzlies. I guess it could be the Clippers in the grand scheme of things here. Could even be the Nuggets. 2 games. No,
I mean, it's literally so close that it's hard to even call it. It's so close. I mean, really, Memphis only has one. I think. Well, they got to play Minnesota, and then they got to play Denver and Dallas. That's their last 3 games. So it's possible they could drop some of those games very easily and take one for sure.
Yeah, because it's all literally it's Denver, the Clippers, and the Grizzlies that have a game in hand, along with Minnesota that has a game in hand. They would all be 1 game away from each other. That would be 48-32. And depending on who wins this game right now, between the Timberwolves and the Timberwolves and I guess it's the Grizzlies, they could all be tied.
Yeah.
So,
and then you start looking at.
Excuse me 1 second, guys. I'll be right back.
You're good. Yeah. And then I was looking at Golden State. Golden State's last 3 games, or no, Golden State only has 2 games left. They got Portland and the Clippers. So, wow. But, hey, should have been on the show. I'm just saying, should have been on the show. Hard to comment for the comment.
That is.
No, but seriously, bro, think about it. Probably the next 3 weeks or 2, or I should say next 3 games. I'm sorry, next 3 games for all these teams. I mean, there's so many ways this could go. There's no way in earth to figure out 4 through 8 or 4 through 10. Even really. I mean, that's crazy. OJ has the hope hat. You need your hope.
So it's because I started the Mariners hashtag from hope to nope.
Oh, man. that was Dustin calling in.
What's that?
My phone goes off of that. I thought Dustin was calling me.
Oh, that's funny. Man. That is pretty hilarious. Yeah, Dustin just catching strays today.
Hey, you know when the cat's away, the mouse will play.
Yeah, so he's playing with taxes. Basically, what he's saying is he's trying not to go to jail at the moment. Man. So I did hear, and of course, Chad put it in here. The McAfee show in Pittsburgh yesterday was interesting. Gave away a bunch of money. The one thing that didn't happen, that there was tons of speculation, was Aaron Rodgers finally deciding if he likes football or not. And the Steelers keep giving these like deadlines. We want to know by this day. We want to know by this day. Mm-hmm. And all of those days have come and gone. Why do they keep giving him the power to dictate what it is they're doing as a franchise? I feel like at this point, you gave him 3 or 4 different deadlines. He hasn't hit any of them. Tell him to just eat it and move on. And I don't get what the Steelers are doing here.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, the only thing I could think of, well, they talked about hopefully maybe getting Shedeur Sanders, things like that. But at the end of the day, man, we all know Aaron Rodgers loves a spotlight. This dude will drag this crap out just like Brett Favre dragged it out with Green Bay forever. That's just what he's going to do. And you're right. When does Pittsburgh ownership say enough is enough? We're tired of it. We're moving on. And I don't know if they do, because at the moment, there's probably nobody else out there better than Aaron Rodgers. Because even with Shedeur coming in, he's going to have a learning curve. And I guess he'll get the best chance, right?
You could go get Cousins. You could get him.
But you'd have to trade for Cousins, wouldn't you?
But you'd have something similar to what they did for Russ, right? Where they're going to take up a piece of his contract, but you're not going to have to give up the moon to go get the guy.
I understand that, but also Cousins has a penchant for getting hurt too, though. He ain't always the most healthiest person out there.
What are you talking about? Outside of that Achilles, he's been one of the most durable quarterbacks in the league.
I thought he had an injury last year. I thought he had to miss game. Maybe it was just the fact that he got benched for a penny.
Yeah, well, so he didn't start off very good because he's coming off an Achilles as a 38-year-old man.
Right.
It's but no, I mean, if you look at the rest of his career, he's been incredibly healthy. So, like, he's also a likable guy. He's not a cancer in the locker room. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't at least make the phone call. Like, I get that you're holding out for Rodgers for whatever reason, but I would at least pick up the phone.
But do you think Atlanta would let Cousins go?
How did an Eagles fan win $2 million last night?
What? I didn't hear that.
Steeler, an Eagles fan won $2 million last night on the McAfee show.
Wow.
Yeah. So I guess he gave away like $10 million during the show,
Which is awesome.
Is what Chad was saying. But what we were talking about is the Rodgers speculation of actually deciding where he's going to go didn't happen.
I was surprised at that. I thought that would occur. Everybody else did
like
too.
You said, it was a giveaway.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, Dustin. Like, if he's not going to sign anywhere, then he needs to at least give them an answer so that they can move on with their franchise. So, I mean, it sounds like the offer that was out there was a 1-year, $30 million deal. So I don't know if he wants that deal or not. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know why you're letting a guy have leverage over your team that doesn't really deserve that leverage. Like, he hasn't played great football in years now, right? His last year in Green Bay wasn't great. He gets hurt his first year with the Jets. Last year with the Jets wasn't great. He had a couple of okay games when it didn't matter anymore.
Even when he got his coveted receiver in Devontae Adams, they didn't really do much.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know why you're letting this guy have the leverage that they're letting him have. Like, if he was still in the middle of winning MVPs, sure, I get it. But, I mean, you're 4 years removed from that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, truth of the matter is that first off, I don't even care. Like, I don't even think the money's even important. I know that it's important to these teams, obviously, because they'd have to pay. And he's not going to do it for nothing. But if he was to get in San Francisco, do you think that he would need $30 million a year? If San Francisco says, you know what, you can be our starting quarterback right now, $5 million. Would he do it?
No, he has a thing where he likes to be one of the highest paid guys. He does have that. So,
yeah, but at $30 million, he's not going to be.
No, I know, and I think that's why he hasn't taken the deal. Because originally it sounded like he wanted upwards of 50.
So you're basically saying you think Aaron Rodgers is holding out because he wants more money. Until they give him the more money, he's just going to play the game.
Yeah, he doesn't really care about team wins. Let's be honest.
I understand that. No, I'm talking about the money. He wants the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I always say, $30 million is better than no dollars.
Well, yeah, but I don't know that money's really the answer here. I do believe it's more the team than
I don't think it's the only answer for sure. But he doesn't seem like he's that kind of guy that would go do it for the league minimum somewhere.
No, I think he's too arrogant for that.
Well,
but
we will see.
He does want to go somewhere that can win, right? And the Steelers do have a good enough team to be good. I mean, with nobody under center, they manage to make it to the playoffs every year. So if you get competent play out of him, it'd be something, right?
Man, truth be told, the guys, if he really wants to play football, he's in a pretty good spot because the only team left does have the ability to be a winning team if he just goes in there and does what he's supposed to, which is be a good leader and manage the assets he has. I mean, he's got a damn good coach over there in Tomlin. The good situation, I just don't understand why he hasn't said yes, other than the fact it's either A, he wants more money, or B, he just likes the attention.
Well, he loves the attention.
Yeah.
I mean, that is absolutely a part of it. Otherwise, he would have given an answer already. Like, he likes to be the center of attention. So, I mean, that's just part of it. But,
yeah. Well, I think at some point, like you said, I mean, how far are we from training camps? About another 2 months, maybe?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Because we got the draft here in a couple of weeks, and then Then you're going to have some rookie mini camps, like 2-3 weeks after that. And then,
And then you're right in there.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, Deshaun Watson says that things are going great on his rehab, and he's going to be back sooner than later.
Just not with the Browns.
Yeah. And then if he does come back, okay, so if Deshaun Watson does come back and it's not with the Browns, what are they going to pay him? What other team would take him on, first of all? And then how much is he going to have to take a reduction in pay by?
Well, his contract probably is actually outlined a little bit like Russ's was, where any team that picks him up, whatever they pay him just comes out of what it is he was going to get paid anyway. So the Browns are still on the hook for him. Like whether he's on their roster or not, they're paying him the next 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow.
So Brad,
the Cowboys made a signing yesterday. Sadiq Charles, offensive line, big signing over there.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Man, I didn't hear about that one. Okay. Well, anything that'll help that offensive line out, I'm all in favor for. Damn. Because we need all the help we can get, quite honestly, especially since Zach Martin retired and we're left with a couple of moderate at best players on the O-line.
I do agree with this, Dustin. If Aaron does go there, they better be on Hard Knocks.
Oh my gosh.
Be
yeah.
Amazing. So, I mean, Deshaun to Dallas.
Nah, that ain't happening. You say that, West Coast Ren. I got you, don't you? Or is that Robert? No, that was Robert that said.
That was Robert.
Yeah, Robert, don't you say that. Don't put that juju on me, man. I'm trying to stay as far away from that one as possible.
So Geno Smith signed an extension with the Raiders?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
So it was actually it was basically exactly what he was trying to get with the Seahawks. So he wanted $45 million a year, and the Seahawks said, we're not doing that. Which is funny because he was outperforming all these guys that just got 55. So, I mean, I would say he's probably earned it. It was only a 2-year deal, which I think is shorter than what he wanted, but it got him just shy of his 45 that he wanted. So, I mean, it was a good fit. He goes back to, working with Pete. There was some stuff that came out 2 days ago where last year during the season, he was actually still going to Pete and, for coaching advice. So clearly there was some sort of disconnect within the Seahawks organization as a whole. Basically, everybody that was affiliated with Pete has now been forced out of the room altogether, players wise and everything.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, outside of the rookies that got drafted towards the end of his tenure there, everybody else, whether it's Lockett, Geno, I mean, most of these guys have all been let go by this new coaching staff. So, but Geno was saying that he felt disrespected while in the organization, so he was happy to leave. So,
and it works out well for him because he gets the money he wants and he gets the coach he likes.
Yeah, well, and it goes to a system that he can play well in. They have some good tight ends, right? Arguably one of the best ones in the league. And then their second tight end is actually a top end tight end as well. You have a good defense. It's not amazing, but it's a good defense. And it's a deep running back class. So you're going to get a running back. So I mean,
Ashton Genty the way it's looking, unless he slides out of that spot.
Yeah, but even if you get somebody later, it wouldn't matter. Like there's a ton of running back talent in this draft. Right. So you could get a guy in the late second, early third round, and he's still going to be a dude. So, or even if you fell to the late third round, you probably still pick up a guy like Scatabo, right? So, when you look at these guys, it's like, okay, I mean, you can go get a dude without having to reach for him or,
running backs in the fourth round are actually like a dime a dozen. The guys that have speed that you should be able to get something out of them.
Well, that's what I mean.
In essence, you got to teach them how to block. That's what you kind of want. You almost want a little bit bigger running backs that you could start to teach how to take on linebackers that are blitzing.
Well, and that's where a guy like Scatabo would actually make sense for him, right? Like that dude just plays angry. And so, that would be great for the Raiders. and
Yeah,
and he's,
really,
he's
the
absolutely
best
going
wide
to
receiver, their wide receiver one is like Jacoby Myers. So to help out Geno, would you rather see them draft maybe a top wide receiver one to go along with Brock Bowers? Because like you said, you can grab a running back in second, third, or fourth round to complete that side of it.
A receiver's not going to be their first round pick. Or I mean, a running back isn't going to be their first round pick. Like that doesn't make any sense.
No, that's not what I said. But I'm saying, do you think that the Raiders would then go for a wide receiver to go along with Brock Bowers?
I don't know if you do that in a first round pick. It maybe, right? I mean, it's not a great receiver draft though.
Right.
So like there's a couple of top end guys, and then everybody else is just kind of all right, So I don't know. They may try and bolster that offensive line a little bit. Obviously, if they can get Gentry or something, they probably do something like that.
Yeah, because everything they have outside of Brock Bowers at the receiving spot is just moderate. Maybe some wide receiver twos and Jacoby Meyer. That's why I was curious but I understand what you're saying though. It's not like this is the most dominant wide receiver one class.
Yeah, it's really not. I mean, and you'd probably be able to get a receiver that's fast in the third round, right? So you might have to stick him on his hands, but hey, as long as he's fast.
But do you think that they can find a good wide receiver one? Because they got anything they're going to get in the third, fourth rounds, there's nothing better than what they already currently have on the roster. And there's no true wide receiver one in those, I don't think.
Yeah, so the thing is we're also talking about Geno Smith as your guy. So he is best with possession receivers anyway. So you don't have to have the fastest dude ever. You need a guy that runs really clean routes.
Right.
Why he struggled to get DK the ball, right? So get him a guy that runs really clean routes. And you have two really, really good tight ends. So, at that point, those are all the things that Geno does well already. You give him a running game and you add some pieces to that defense to make it even better. That's a solid team.
You're saying a running game and all timing routes. That everything's got to be timing. Yeah,
it's
like
the
1,
only
2, 3. I'm throwing the ball in this location. You better be there to catch it.
When you look at the way he had success in Seattle, those were the plays that he did the best at. He would hit DK for a deep one here and there, but the bulk of what he did well was kind of timing routes. And some of that was just because the offensive line was trash and you had to get the ball out. But yeah, but at the same time, it's the way he plays the most effectively.
Which in your case, to support what you're saying is that's why they would want to have a very much bolstered up wide receiving line to give him that time to throw to those spots on that time.
Get him a good offensive line so he has a little bit more time. So he's not running for his life. Because when he does have some time, he's very effective.
Right. Yeah. And at number 6, they should get a pretty good offensive lineman out of that.
So, Dustin, there's actually quite a bit of talk about Lockett potentially going down to the Raiders as well.
That wouldn't be bad, actually.
No, they could get him for cheap.
Yeah.
Obviously, they already have a relationship.
Cap friendly.
And he still gets open, right? It's been years since he does anything with yards after the catch. Like, he does a lot of the catch the ball, go to the ground. But he gets separation. So, it wouldn't be terrible, especially bang for the buck.
Why would you want to do that, though? So here's becomes my question for that. Tyler Lockett. He has a ring?
He does not.
No.
Okay.
So
Geno
he came
Smith.
in.
Does he have a ring?
What's that?
Geno Smith. Do you have a ring?
No.
Okay. All the other guys that played in Seattle for the last couple of years.
They don't.
Okay. Now they're Oakland or Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, Seattle South.
It amazes me. It amazes me. All right, we're going to bring all these people in. Well, we didn't win with those people.
Well, so the distinct difference was that offense actually was highly effective. When they were all together, they put up points. That wasn't really the problem. What the biggest problem we had was we had a bottom 5 defense. You don't have that problem with the Raiders right now, which is weird to say because they've had a bottom 5 defense for 15 years. But the last couple of years, they've really started to come together. And again, not an elite unit by any means, but a top 10 defense. Which if you have a good, not great, but if you have a good offense and you have a top 10, top 12 type defense, you're going to win some games.
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean, they're not exactly set up to be a juggernaut. I mean, I don't know how they get out of their own division. I mean, they're not winning their division by any means. Like, if they make it to the playoffs, they're a wild card regardless.
Right. Well, I don't know. I don't trust San Diego, LA. I think Kansas City takes a step backwards.
Except Mahomes keeps restructuring his deal to give more money back to the team. So he's doing a lot of what Brady used to do, which helps them kind of keep that team competitive, right? Wasn't always a championship caliber team, but it was at least a playoff caliber team. And the Mahomes is kind of following that blueprint. So you're going to have to deal with KC either way. Like they're going to be a relevant team. It's not like they're just going to fall apart.
How's KC's offensive? I know they let go of Tooney. Now he's over there with Chicago. How is there? Because that was a big problem against the Eagles. Was they didn't give Patrick Mahomes a whole lot of time. They really got that offensive line got exposed a little bit. How do you look at their offensive line this year? And do you imagine they're going to draft offensive linemen in that first round?
Well, so the thing is this is a deep draft for offensive line.
Yeah.
Offense and defensive line. There's a lot of guys that are going to go in the first and second round. Right. It's one of the better drafts for those positions. So any of the teams that need linemen, I mean, you're going to be able to get a guy in the first 2 rounds that are highly competitive guys. So do I think quite a few teams that are light on the offensive line address it? Absolutely. And KC's probably one of them.
I think there's going to be a lot of busts.
Yeah.
A lot of busts on the offensive and defensive line.
Probably, but at the same time, when you look at the quality of play that we've been having anyway, they might be the same as what's out there, worst case, right? Like there's a lot of bad offensive line play.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get to see any of that, but
I get to watch a lot firsthand, as it turns out.
Well, going from last year, though, I mean, I told you what I saw as the problem last year for you guys. Undisciplined.
No, for sure.
They were completely undisciplined from the practice that we went to.
Yeah.
2 big fights on the field.
Yeah.
This is with your fans there watching.
Well, and it was funny because then going to practices after that, it was so much worse. Like there were more fights. And I mean, one of them, NFL Network, was there and they happened to catch DK in the middle of one of them. It's just like, dude, come on, guys. Like, at least get away from the camera. Like you can't do it. 3 guys of NFL Network that are broadcasting that day and be like, like, what are we doing?
But that was their problem all year last year.
Yeah.
And you hoped that, okay, you could turn it around and be like, all right, they're doing it. They're fighting like this because it's, once it comes to actual game day, they'll start to fight against somebody else. And that they're playing with swagger, but they weren't playing with swagger. They were playing like crap.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because it's, we got out of Hard Knocks again. So that was nice. I mean, there's always some fights in training camp and stuff, right? Because you got 93 guys trying for 53 spots. So
right.
Like I get that there's going to be some, right? Because you're literally out there trying to steal each other's job. So I get it to a degree, but it also should be getting better over time, not worse. And I mean, it was a dumpster fire. I mean, You know, they had, when they did all play as a team, like it looked good. It was just getting them to do it consistently it just didn't happen very well.
So, and do you think that DK's playing for what, Pittsburgh now, right? That's why
Yep.
that's why he was having like pitch and catch with Rodgers. I mean, that was kind of the whole thing with that.
Yep.
Do you think that that's now that they got rid of everybody that had anything to do with Pete Carroll?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think your team's going to be at this year?
I think they're still a 9-win team.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, no, I think they're still a 9-win team. Like, it's going to look very different, and there's been some upgrades in areas. Obviously, this is all dependent on them addressing some of their offensive line during the draft here, right? Because they still need to fix their interior offensive line. They did add a couple of pieces here in free agency, but at the same time, none of them were the answer, right? So we have 2 solid tackles. We just got to figure out the 2 guard positions. Like, that's the biggest question. Because again, if Darnold can get protection, he'll be fine. Like, we've seen that he can play effective football if he's not on the ground all the time, doesn't have a pass rush in his face. He starts to freak out when he's got pressure on him all day, right? Which is what we saw, with the Rams and the Lions. Those were the 2 teams that could get through that offensive line, and he looked terrible in all 4 of those games. So obviously, and it's not like that's something new. You saw him under duress with the Jets, with the Panthers. Like, anytime that was the case, he starts to melt down. So you gotta build an offensive line. You got to protect that guy. If you can, dude's got an arm. Like, he can throw the ball. So the biggest question will be, can they fix what's that?
To who?
I mean, JSN is a 1,000-yard receiver. Cooper Kupp isn't going to be the number 1 target, so he, in theory, should be able to stay healthier. And then they still have their speed guy with MVS, right? Like, he runs a 40.2 slower than DK, and he has a 50% catch probability, which is basically DK also. So, I mean, it's the receiver room actually isn't terrible. Do I think it's as good as it was? No, it probably took a little bit of a step back, but I mean, if we can fix the interior of the offensive line, it means our running backs will actually not get tackled behind the line of scrimmage all the time. So,
and your defense will be able to stop somebody?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, the defense should be a little bit better than it was last year.
Well, I think San Francisco's definitely going to take a step back with all the people that they got rid of to pay Purdy.
Yeah, they're definitely taking a step back.
Yeah.
But I mean,
that should make it a little bit easier on you guys. So Rams are probably the Rams you think are the toughest in your division right now? The Rams, I guess that's to be.
No, the Rams will win the division.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Rams will win the division. The Seahawks will be a borderline wild card team. Arizona is still going to be that.
Arizona.
Yeah, they're going to be that wild card.
Yeah.
Not wild card playoff, but like wild card, like you have no idea what you're going to see on the field.
Right.
So, but yeah, the Niners, John Lynch came out 2 weeks ago and was like, oh yeah, every team has to do a reset at some point. Like, all of their contracts have just got them to the point where they got to clear out space. So that's just, it's just part of it.
Yeah. Pags, you guys got rid of a lot of players on your defensive side. How do you see that defense stacking up this year?
Fine, actually. This is part of the plan. Was part of the plan, I think, with Howie. And when you think about this plan in a global sense, that all right, they had to get rid of guys that were going to make too much money. They had 3 guys off of this defense that made a lot of money signing somewhere else. Yeah. That comes out, that equates to 3 third-round compensatory picks. That's, what did they say? That we have somewhere in the neighborhood over the next couple years. I think this year excluded. Next year and the following year, we have like 20 picks, 11 of which are in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah.
I mean, not for nothing. That equates to guys you filling in those holes. We still the main guys of our defensive line are there.
Mhm.
They've always brought in new guys to fill in and stuff like that. So, I mean, they were talking about it today how Brandon Graham, I think, came out and said that he really wasn't super excited about retiring. He wanted to continue to play a little bit, and that he may have gotten, asked to step aside. That, hey, listen, we want to make you, we wish you to be an Eagle of all time, like an all-time Eagle. You don't need to go somewhere else, but we don't want you to play this year. It's, and that might be tough to hear. You know what I mean? It's like, listen, I know that Jason Peters didn't want to hear it, and he decided to play 6 more years. And all 6 of those years, he sucked. Now he's in Seattle, and he's a coach now, right?
I believe so, yeah.
And coaching in Seattle, where truth of the matter is that he shouldn't have. Yeah, he should have been a coach 3 years ago.
Well, I agree. Yeah.
I thought, but you guys losing Sweat, I thought was interesting. I really thought y'all would have kept him.
I knew we were going to lose Sweat before the Super Bowl.
Okay.
And the reason why I knew was because he hired Drew Rosenhaus, and I was there when he hired him.
Yeah.
So not like they're in the room, but like I was right there. Yeah. I saw Drew Rosenhaus. So like when you hire Drew, you're going after the money.
Right.
That's the only reason why you hire a different agent. So, and I felt that was really the case. Mekhi Becton, like he's the only guy we lost on our offense. Now it's possible that Dallas Goedert disappears, and I think he's going to disappear. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go to Detroit, because that's where his buddy is, Avonte Maddox. Avonte Maddox is over there, and they were the best of friends and like roommates and stuff like that, staying at each other's house all the time. Like it was like that type of thing. The moment that Maddox was released and known that he wasn't going to re-sign, Dallas Goedert's been like, yeah. You know what I mean? So he's got a little bit of the whines now. And I think that that's going to mean that he's going to wind up going somewhere else, which probably means he's going to wind up in Detroit. If I had to make a bet on that, we wouldn't be surprised to see him go up there for a 4th round pick this year, maybe even a late 3rd rounder, possibly if Howie Rosen can get it all worked out in the mix. Maybe like give that for a late 3rd rounder and I don't even think that the Eagles have a 6th or a 7th rounder this year, but something like that, like a pickup 7th rounder that they wind up with that you throw in the mix, because who are you trying to really get with the Mr. Irrelevant. So, but ultimately we're going in there with the same offense, and the main core pieces of our defense still intact.
Mm-hmm.
We still got Blankenship as the safety. We got the 2 best corners quite possibly in the league going in, and year 2. You know what I mean? It's like Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. I mean, those guys were the bomb. We re-signed our all-pro linebacker. That was the biggest thing that we had, because what that guy did was he was able to run the defense. Now, Nakobe Dean's going to be a late season guy who's going to be able to come on. He's going to be hurt up until that point, because he obviously got hurt real late in the playoffs, and it's going to take 10 months for the whole thing to heal. So ultimately, he's going to be able to come back in December of next year.
How do you think you fare against the Commanders, though, going into this coming season? How do you think y'all going to fare against them?
Well, it'll be interesting to see. I don't want to say that there's going to be a sophomore slump, but realistically, we got to see what happens there. I mean, is there going to be a sophomore slump? I look at this like when you learn how to do something, when you're shooting pool and you learn how to do something with the cue ball, you do it right for the first little bit, and then you try to tweak it a little bit, and that's where you screw up until you get it right again, and then you start to go back again. I kind of feel that there's going to be a little bit of that going on this year.
Right.
I think that the Commanders aren't going to be I think the Commanders are going to be a really good team. They're definitely a playoff team. I think that they've got a coach that's strong enough to compete in that arena. I think that you're going to see a quarterback have some challenges at certain times, and that's going to cost him some games this year. And it's going to be the learning experience he's got to have to learn how to lose a little bit to figure out how to win, if that makes sense. So I think that there's a possibility for that all to occur. But yeah, I'm excited for this season. I'm going right back to where I was last year, that I think that Detroit is going to be the team that we're going to have to beat to get into the Super Bowl, and that it's going to be a Detroit Lions, Philadelphia Eagles NFC Championship game.
It's possible. It's possible. And Rob, I mean, having him opposite a fan, like, that wouldn't be terrible.
So, I mean, that wouldn't be a surprise. I just, if you're talking to him, I think that he's going to be interested in more in going to Detroit just because that's where his buddy's at.
Sure.
Yeah.
However, Maddox is signed over there. That doesn't mean that he wouldn't get traded either. Like, I have a feeling that those two guys are going to be together again.
I got you. Yeah.
So, look at that. Made it through a whole show without Dustin.
We had about an hour's worth of stats that we just
and we had a really active chat room today, which is funny because we were talking about it before the show started. Appreciate all of you tuning in and jumping in the chat. That is always awesome. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. Helps us bring our stuff to you. And of course, if you're watching on Roku, stay tuned for the next hour. Otherwise, we're done for the day. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Take that
later,
Dustin.
guys.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports.